What are we doing today? 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 I figure I hop on here and do a vertical live stream. I'm trying to be more on top of these, but there will be an official episode of the Drawn Actor episode, probably or Drawn Actor show, probably Thursday night. I'm thinking, trying to fall into a pattern every Thursday night. I think we're gonna do it around 8 or 9 o'clock. But otherwise, I want to talk a little sound bites for you to cut up and clip and spread around the world. First of all, there is the numbers are in when it comes to uh Captain America 4. It actually made close to $100 million, which some people are saying is surprising. Some people are saying that it's like the right amount. Me personally, I actually think that it's about right. It's about right. But it's underwhelming regardless. I think a movie of this scale and this importance should have cleared 150 million, 160 million. And I'm just kind of basing that off the standards of where cinema's at right now and what we're basing Marvel movies off of right now. I would definitely say that like around 160 million is what I was expecting, or I think that's the expectations of the movie. But the thing is the movie went through like a bunch of reshoots, which is expensive. I don't know what the budget ended up being, but I almost guarantee that it ballooned well past their expectations. They weren't expecting the movie to like be as expensive as it was. Let me actually look this up real quick to see how much the budget was for Captain America 4. Let's see, Captain America 4 budget. It had a budget of 180 million, which is not bad. I thought it was actually a little bit more than that. But 180, they'll make it back. But the thing about it is that like that movie just had too much going on, and I think the timing of the movie is actually probably the reason why it's not hitting as well as it should have. Like this movie should have came out right after Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's my thought on it. It should have came out like right after Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then that way you would have like it would have rolled right into it. It would have made Falcon and Winter Soldier like a little bit more impactful overall, in the sense that like a lot of people forgot about that movie, and so they're like, matter of fact, like I talk about this often. Like the problem with the TV shows is that like when you put major story beats behind paywalls, like Disney Plus, and you're losing a lot of the audience. So if you went to go see Captain America 3 Civil War, and you were just a massive fan of that, right? Like you went to go see that movie and that's your last time you saw Captain America on screen, which I guess might have been Endgame, maybe. I guess there's a little bit of Endgame hint where it's like, okay, cool, he passes him the shield, but that transition is not like clearly like pushed in front of the casual viewer's like face, to where it's like this dude is Captain America. So I think it's jarring for the average viewer, the average citizen that's going into Captain America 4, like, oh, Captain America's black now. Who's this Latino dude? That I'm saying, like, there's all these factors that came into play. Now I haven't seen the movie yet, so don't start. This is not a review about the movie yet. I'll probably try to go watch it, or maybe try to catch the high seas version of it here soon. I do plan on watching it. I like Anthony Mackie, but the thing about Anthony Mackie is that like he doesn't really have like a lot of leading man energy. That's like kind of like his big thing, is that like I fuck with him heavy. Like I like Anthony Mackie, but he's always been good as like a secondary. He's always been good as like a sidekick. He's always been good as like a dude who is like not the main focus, but is able to draw attention. And like I know that he was in Altered Carbon, I think is the name of the show, and I think that got canceled. And then there's also the fact that he was in 8 Mile, right, as Papa Doc, and it's one of those things where it's like he's in my head he's always Papa Doc. He's also Tupac too. He was Tupac in the Notorious movie, which is just wild. But I digress. The point is that Anthony Mackie, I appreciate him as a black man, but the thing is that like he just never has hit me as like, oh, I'm gonna lead this movie. Now I'm sure he does fine. I'm sure the movie is doing what he needs to do in terms of like putting him in the forefront. But let's talk about the story about where we're at in the MCU right now at this point. So now Anthony Mackie's gonna try and go and get together the Avengers at this point. I know that I'm not going to try and spoil anything because I've read the spoilers. I know the plot, but I haven't watched the movie myself. So I know that the post credit scene involves a teaser that kind of opens up the fact that he has to go get the Avengers together. So we're looking at the Avengers and where it stands right now. So we have Hawkeye, female Hawkeye. We got Miss Marvel. We got Shang-Chi. We got I guess Captain Marvel is still around. We got Thor? Question mark Thor? Thor? Question mark on Thor. But who else do we got? We got, I guess, maybe the Guardians of the Galaxy. We got the Thunderbolts, all them, depending on who dies and who doesn't die in the Thunderbolts movie. Which, to be honest, the Thunderbolts movie I'm probably actually most excited about out of all the movies. Even with Captain America, or it's not Captain America, Fantastic Four. Like, I like Fantastic Four. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. But I think there's just way too much pressure on Fantastic Four right now to be successful. Where it's like, oh, this movie is going to revive the MCU, et cetera, so forth. We kind of said that about Deadpool a little bit, where it was like, oh, Deadpool's going to revive the MCU. The MCU is back. But there actually is like literal pressure on the Fantastic Four. And it mostly has to do with the history of the Fantastic Four more than the actual movie itself, to where like, I think the Fantastic Four, with the exception of the Incredible Hulk, I think the Fantastic Four is probably the most screwed over franchise in the MCU. And you guys let me know if I'm wrong, because I might think maybe Blade too at this point, but I think the Fantastic Four is extremely important. Reed Richards is one of the most important dudes in the entire Marvel universe. And the fact that they're just now trying to introduce him is super complicated. That's why they're doing this whole alternate universe. Rumor has it, alternate universe thing where they're potentially in a different realm and they have to travel back. That's the story that's going around on the rumor mills. I don't know if that's the actual plot that we're seeing in the trailers, but it seems to lend to that because they're in like a futuristic kind of environment and things look like a little different than the regular MCU. And so now we're like trying to figure out what their role is in the ultimate MCU. Like, one of the theories is that they're actually from the original sacred timeline and they got yeeted out into this new timeline, and now they're adjusting to this new life. But the problem with that is that, like, once again, like I said earlier, Reed Richards is one of the most important characters in the MCU, or sorry, the Marvel universe. He's literally like one of the most important. They've like done a bunch of shit without Reed Richards at this point. You got the whole Infinity War, you know what I'm saying? Like, all these events that have happened that Reed Richards played a role in already, that they haven't, that they were just fine without him, right? So now they're going to bring in the Fantastic Four into the MCU, and they have to reboot at this point with the Fantastic Four as the lead. That's like my ultimate theory, is that after Doomsday or Secret Wars or whatever, you're going to see the Fantastic Four be like the main core of the MCU going forward. And then that way you get to see some of the MCU events maybe redone again, or just different stories that included Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four play out again. Also with the X-Men floating around now too, you're going to see all that shit too. And so for me, it's like, I think that when it comes to Fantastic Four, it's like there's all this pressure on this movie. The same pressure that's kind of on Captain America, because actually all three of the movies, I think Thunderbolts, I think the reason why I'm the most excited about Thunderbolts is because there's less pressure on that film. Like, that movie is going to be what it's going to be, right? There's not like a grand weight on that film, even though there's some important characters with Sentry being introduced in this film, allegedly. Once again, I'm going off the rumor mill and trailers, but Sentry's supposed to be one of the villains, one of the issues in the Marvel universe. And Sentry is also a massively huge, important character in the Marvel universe. But beyond that, it's like, it feels like we're getting back to like old school MCU vibes where we're just trying to like make a good movie. That's what the Thunderbolts feel like. When Captain America, there's all these different weird things that they're trying to do. It almost feels like an Incredible Hulk sequel. Like, got Harrison Ford as Red Hulk. Like, all these elements that feel cool when you, like, I guess watch a trailer or like when you read them, but it doesn't quite make sense when you actually like see it executed in the grand scheme of the multiverse saga. Because keep in mind, we're officially in the multiverse saga, so I'm not exactly sure how Captain America even plays a role in this, which is probably why they have the end credit scene where it's like multiverse, just so you can be reminded that we're in the multiverse saga, right? Going back to the sacred timeline and this whole multiverse saga, it's like you have Sam trying to make this Avengers team that I guess is gonna go up against Doctor Doom, I guess. And my guess is that maybe as I'm talking this out live on YouTube, I could theorize that this squad, which might include Spider-Man too, but he's not strong enough to defeat Doom. But this squad that Sam is putting together is probably gonna get washed in Doomsday. That's my guess. Is that they get the crap beat out of them by Doom, which forces them to go to the multiverse and get a multiverse of heroes, right? Like, oh, we need an Iron Man, so maybe that's when we get like a Tom Cruise Iron Man, or maybe we get like that's how we get the X-Men introduced because they need to be brought into this new universe so they can defeat Doom. We have all these elements that are just up in the air, and I think it's really actually possible for Marvel to stick the landing on this, but this is the problem that happens when it comes to movie studios. There's all this like outside politics, right? Like when it comes to like Kang and Jonathan Majors and all that shit, like it gets to a point where like you have to like bend to the whim of reality, I guess, which is like the big difference between reading a book or a comic versus watching a movie, is that like, or a live action movie anyways, is that live action movies have to fit in the realm of reality. Like these people who are acting out these roles have lives outside the world that may or may not be detrimental to the growth and progress. And Jonathan Majors is a major example. So they can still there's a variety of ways that they can like include that story. And even like back to what I was saying at the top of this, where it was like with the TV shows behind the paywall on Disney Plus, like Loki is an extremely important story to the grand scheme of the multiverse saga at this point. Like, if you did not watch Loki season 2, then you're going to be in for a very, very rough time come watching Doomsday and Secret Wars, assumedly. You know what I'm saying? Unless they're going to spend time, unless these are going to be like 3-hour movies and they're going to find a way to like backtrack all these stories back to where we can be like, oh, okay, cool. Like that actually makes sense. But the reality of it is that like there's a lot of lore that has to be absorbed by you to enjoy these movies wholeheartedly. So when it comes to Secret Wars or when it comes to Doomsday, it's just going to be like a sensational fest of nostalgia. You know what I'm saying? We're going to bring together all the different heroes and all the different people that y'all fuck with, and y'all going to love it. And then they're all going to die. And then somehow their universe is going to reset. But there's so many things up in the air, like especially with the Robert Downey Jr. being Dr. Doom. Like, they seem to be setting up something, but at this point, it's hard to say if they're going to stick that landing. Now, if they do find a way to stick this landing, it would actually be incredible. Like, if they found a way to just tie this all together, because there's so many things that's up in there right now. And one thing that I think about, there's a meme that's going around right now that in the Marvel world that shows all the ranked movies that came out, like all the Rotten Tomato scores that came out since Endgame. And it had, I think, No Way Home as the highest ranked movie on there, around like 97, 95%, something like that, to that sort. But Shang-Chi was like 92. It was the second highest ranked movie in the list. And what's crazy about that is the fact that they haven't made a Shang-Chi sequel yet. And they left that end credit scene as potentially one of the most important things in the entire multiverse saga. It seemed like they had this very strong through line with these celestial objects, which they had in Shang-Chi, they had them in Miss Marvel, and they had them in She-Hulk. And we actually saw this cohesive through line with these celestial objects, but they, once again, like they haven't gotten back to that. Although I haven't seen Captain America, and I do know that they go to the celestial body Tiamat at some point. So maybe that does play a role. Maybe there's some more celestial objects there. I kind of highly doubt that. I didn't read that in the spoilers, but that would be a cool twist, because Shang-Chi, one of the highest ranked movies to come out since Endgame, hasn't gotten a sequel. We haven't gotten anything else in that storyline. We haven't gotten anything else in those characters. Shang-Chi has not popped up in any other type of movie, even though he should have at this point. He has not popped up in any other movie. So it's like, where's the Shang-Chi sequel at? Will Shang-Chi even be in Doomsday, will Sam go recruit Shang-Chi? I mean, he probably should, right? That would have been cool if that was the end credit scene. If it was like him pulling up on Shang-Chi and being like, yo, you want to join the Avengers? I need to stop Doomsday, right? That would have been cool. But we didn't get that. And so I kind of like a little bit am losing a little bit of faith and trust in their ability to stick this landing, because there's already like really cool story elements that are already there that they can already use to like make this story amazing, that they're completely avoiding. And then a lot of the large story elements, like extremely important crucial moments in the MCU, are happening on Disney Plus, which a lot of people don't have Disney Plus. So either you're reading spoilers or you're bootlegging on the high seas, or you're paying $14 a month to hope that you get to watch it. There's also a bunch of other shows on there from like, Agatha All Along, which I haven't watched. WandaVision, there's Loki, there's Hawkeye. These are all, and even with Hawkeye, like they're talking about having female Hawkeye, she a Hawkeye, she high. I don't know. There's a word in there. She's supposed to be the lead Avenger, like one of the lead Avengers. And it's like, how is that supposed to be the case when she's going to be a lead Avenger, when like the general audience, once again, the casual viewer, has not even been introduced to this character, unless you were on the paywall on Disney Plus and you went and you got Hawkeye and you sat there and you watched the 6 to 8 episodes that were on Hawkeye, which, to be honest, I haven't watched Hawkeye. I just haven't watched it. Why? Because I just haven't been able to sit down and watch it. It's a lot of content to watch these Disney Plus shows. But they're saying that she's going to be a main character, one of the lead Avengers, but we haven't been introduced to her yet on that level. Same with Miss Marvel. When Miss Marvel at least got some type of like love in the Marvels movie. And if you watch the Marvels movie, which most of us didn't, it flopped, at least you get that introduction to her on a movie scale. Because in my head, they're just two different universes. Like, yes, there's connection, but you can't expect someone to watch the TV shows and the movies and just like know everything. So that means you have to make the movie so casual and so digestible by the regular viewer, and make them also understandable and relatable to those who have put in the work and watched all that shit. And it's like, man, it's a lot of work, man. I think that's like where they're starting to fall apart, because in the earlier days, they didn't have to worry about that. When they were just like when they were doing the Iron Man run all the way to Avengers 1, they weren't worried about that. They were just worried about getting the story out. They were like, yo, we just need to do this. They weren't worried about like the connectivity as much, because all their stories were already connected. And it was a tight little universe, and I'm sure they spent some more time developing. Right now, we're in this multiverse saga, and all these stories are happening seemingly on the same timeline. I don't know. That hasn't necessarily been explained. And that's actually been one of my ultimate theories, where I believe that it's possible that all of these stories and all these movies that we've seen so far since Endgame have taken place in different multiverses. That would be super cool. And it allows them to retcon some things, right? Like, for example, the death of Black Panther. If they just said that Black Panther 2 took place in an alternate universe that's similar to the Earth 1999 or Earth 616, whatever you believe in, then all of a sudden, all the movies make sense. You know what I'm saying? Because they're all individual stories within the multiverse world that maybe Loki is telling, or maybe even Kang or whoever, Doom, whoever, maybe he's telling these stories. And that way you don't have to look for the connectivity of all of them. That's kind of what I'm hoping is like their ultimate trump card in all this, because like right now, if you're trying to find the through line from Endgame to now, it's confusing as hell. And there's so many just like plot lines that are just left hanging. And they're left hanging because in order to continue those plot lines, you basically have to like, build a whole reality around that. Another example is from Falcon and Winter Soldier is Sharon, Power Broker, right? We get this whole cliffhanger, this whole ending with her on the phone, like, I'm about to do some stuff. And we never see her ever again. She's not even in this next movie. Although she really should be, but she's not. And so you're seeing all these problems being presented. Another issue too is that this is actually one of the things that bothered me the most about the MCU is the 5-year blip. I think the 5-year blip is probably one of the biggest missed opportunities the MCU has presented at this point, where you could tell so many interesting stories from the 5-year blip. You really, really, truly could. Like Iron Man 4, you could have did Iron Man 4 during the blip, and that would have been crazy. That would have been crazy if he did Iron Man 4 during the blip, and he has to fight whoever, right? Or Captain Marvel. during the blip, whatever, or even just like new characters, or even this. I don't know. I would probably actually be more likely to watch a TV series, like a Disney Plus TV series behind a paywall of characters in the blip. Call it Blip Life or something. I don't know, shit. But the point is that missed opportunity. But that's an end game thing. We're talking multiverse saga. If they were just like, oh, everything that you've seen since Endgame has been Loki telling these stories. And so it actually doesn't matter what story you see because they're all just different versions of multiverse. You know, the multiverse is infinite, right? So there could be a universe where Black Panther died and Shuri becomes Black Panther, right? That's not the sacred timeline, right? Or maybe it is a sacred timeline. It doesn't actually really matter at this point, but it's not the timeline that we all know and love, but it's a timeline, a variation of that timeline where you see that happen. They could connect all together like that, and that would actually be incredible. And I would feel satisfied, and it would also justify all the previous films that we've seen at this point, to where it's like some of the stories may be from the sacred timeline, but others aren't, and that allows them to pick and choose what they feel fits the best in the storyline, if that makes any sense. But I digress. Going back to Captain America 4, it's going to be very interesting to see how they move forward with Captain America at this point. Like, I don't think Anthony Mackie is going to continue to be Captain America for the foreseeable future. Give him until Secret Wars. Matter of fact, wouldn't be surprised if he dies in Secret Wars. That's a bold theory. You can clip that up and put that up and store that somewhere in your little folders. But I wouldn't be surprised if Anthony Mackie dies in Secret Wars. So they can bring in a brand new Captain America, a brand new white Captain America. Yeah, race card, pulled it out, pow. But the point is that that's kind of what America is doing right now. You know what I'm saying? Like we're like having a black Captain America right now is just not resonating with the masses. The masses aren't fucking with that. We got rid of DEI. Why is Captain America black? That's what a lot of people are thinking right now. And I'm not trying to turn this to a political video. We're talking about Marvel in this video, but maybe we'll save it for the Draw Nightner the show this Thursday, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I think I don't know what time zone I'm on. I'm in Arizona, so time zones be switching over here. But check out the Draw Nightner show. Fucking every Thursday, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Come kick it with me in the live. We're recording. We'll have graphics and stuff. I just wanted to shoot the shit for 30 minutes on the vertical video so I can get some sweet clout. Appreciate you guys that are watching. We'll see you soon. I am out.